This is going to be a rambling, a rant, but I don't want to talk about this particular subject. This is going to be an ode to Malcolm X. This video is dedicated to Malcolm X. Brother, you was right all along. You was right ever since you first came in the scene during the civil rights movement, aka the Black Power movement. Brother, you was right. And there was a reason why your movement wasn't as popular as Dr. King's. And now I know why. Because you told the truth. You weeded out the bullshit. You called things out for what it was. You wanted radical change for black folks in America. And not just in America, but you wanted radical change for black folks all across the globe. You was willing to make that chance. You was willing to make that change. You was willing to make the sacrifices that was needed. There was one thing that you talked about too. You said in one of your speeches, you said people, especially black folks, people got to be careful with the word revolution. People got to be careful when it comes to using the word revolution because they don't know what comes behind it. Revolution comes in blood and sacrifice. Are you willing to die for your rights? That's revolution right there. You know what I'm saying? Look you know what I'm saying? Look what look back in the 1800s. You know what I'm saying? You had a bunch of black folks who was freeing the slaves, man. The maroon resistance. All these freedom fighters, man, back in the slavery days, man. They was fighting for our rights. They was freeing the slaves. They were trying to free us out of captivity. Listen, when it comes to revolution, it means blood, sweat, tears, and sacrifice. Are you willing to die for your freedom? That's what a revolution really means, man. And that's what Malcolm X was trying to convey to us. You know what I'm saying? That was like the speeches that we hear right now. It makes total sense now, but back then it didn't, because a lot of black folks wasn't. I gotta put this. They wasn't aware of the true deception of what was going on within America back then. But nowadays, since things have passed. Since the years have gone past, a lot of the things that Malcolm X said have come to pass. You know what I'm saying? And people are now starting to pay attention to it. You know? And there was a segment of what he said a long time ago in one of those interviews. Malcolm X's thing was he wanted to set the world on fire. And what he mean by on fire, he talking about the fire of truth. He wanted to set the world on fire with the truth. So in that way, people can really wake up and see what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? Just weed out the bullshit and just truly awaken and really realize what's really going on. He wanted to set the world on fire with the truth. And I'm going to be real with you, man. And there's another reason why. This is my honest opinion. I might crash out. I might crash out in this motherfucking video. So bear with me. But if you don't want to bear with me, get the fuck off my channel. But another reason why Malcolm X movement wasn't as popular as Dr. King. Dr. King was a strong student of Bacchus. What I mean by that is the man was a serial cheater. He cheated on his woman, even though that's not about business. But they said that he did a lot of dirty things behind the scenes with other people and all that stuff, man. The man was not a righteous man as what they portray him to be. The dude was out there fornicating with different women. He did a lot of bogus shit behind the scenes towards other people. But he was deemed as a so-called righteous leader towards the black masses. They propagated him. They promoted him as being this prominent black leader for blacks during the 60s. He was being promoted. He was being pushed. But all the while, the man was, damn, it's a word I'm looking for. But overall, the man was not, he was not a righteous man. He really wasn't. He really wasn't a righteous man, as they claimed him to be. You know, he was out there doing a lot of dirty things behind his wife's back. There's some other stuff too. I can't really explain right now. But overall, he was not a righteous. He was not a righteous man. And you know, to tell you the truth, I don't think he was a good leader. But who was a good leader, in my honest opinion, back in the '60s was Malcolm X. But he was overshadowed because of Dr. King's charisma. That's what it was. That's another example. That's another reason. The main reason why Dr. King overshadowed Malcolm X was because his charisma, and also Dr. King was a Freemason. You know, even though I heard Malcolm X was too, but when it came to Dr. King had a lot of charisma, and he was a Freemason. And he was a part of their agenda. But in the beginning of Dr. King's career in the civil rights movement, he was a part of the Caucasians agenda, as far as making peace and all that stuff, as far as integration. See, when it comes to integration, that was the elite's plan, and that's why they promoted Dr. King to push in integration. But then later on, Dr. King got his wake-up call, and he finally admitted that he was sending his people inside a burning house, and that burning house was integration. He should have kept it real. He should have kept it as segregated as possible, as Malcolm X was promoting years ago. See, in the early days, Malcolm X was promoting segregation. He wanted to keep the races separate, but Dr. King wanted integration. But kind of found out the whole integration part was being boosted by his handlers. But once he started to realize what was really going on, he started to backtrack his thoughts, and that's when he started to preach kind of similar to Malcolm X. You see that, man? You see how that bullshit is, man? At first, Dr. King was pushing the whole agenda of integration. But once Malcolm X died, he started to preach kind of similar to Malcolm X, because he started to realize some of the views that Malcolm X had made a lot of damn sense, and made a lot of sense. You see what I'm saying, man? See. What I'm trying to say is that you have to be careful on the leaders that you follow. You have to be careful on the people that they push out there in the media, because when you see like certain leaders being pushed out there in the media, that means that there is an agenda that's being propagated and created by a very powerful force, a very powerful conglomerate. You know what I'm saying? People like Dr. King and Barack Obama, those people were pushed and promoted by a very powerful conglomerate. You know what I'm saying? How can I put this? Those particular people's movement, especially Dr. King, his movement was not a grassroots movement. It was more of a conglomerate bourgeois type of movement that was created by the elites. And when it came to Malcolm X, he wanted his movement. He wanted his movement to be more connected with grassroots, basically being pushed by the people, being pushed and promoted by the people. But yeah, like I said before, man, Malcolm X's movement back in the '60s was not as popular as as Dr. King's, because Dr. King was being pushed by a very powerful conglomerate. His movement was being pushed by a very powerful machine, whereas Malcolm X, his movement was powerful, but not on the same level as Dr. King, because Dr. King had a very powerful machine behind him, aka a very powerful conglomerate, you know what I'm saying, aka the elites. But when it came to Malcolm X, not so much. And also, like I said, they may not have something to do with it, but when it comes to Dr. King's character, you have to be careful on the people who you follow or who you listen to, because Dr. King was not a righteous man. He was not a righteous man behind the scenes. He really wasn't. He really fucking wasn't. But they still promoted him. They still promoted him and pushed him. Don't you realize, man? In this prison planet, you have the wicked people being pushed more than the righteous people. Ain't that a bitch? You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to Dr. King, but behind the scenes, Dr. King was something else. He was kind of wicked, man. You have people like Dr. King, aka wicked people, being pushed in the forefront, whereas people like, like Fred Hampton and Malcolm X being pushed in the back burner, being pushed back. They don't want the truth to be realized. They don't want the masses of the truth. They don't want the masses to know the truth. They don't want the masses to truly understand what's really going on with their society. You know what I'm saying? They don't want that. They want people to fall in line and to follow their agenda. And they wonder why the world is so fucked up as it is. Because their agenda is basically destroying blacks as we speak. They don't want blacks to be free. They don't want blacks to own. They don't want blacks to be independent. They don't want blacks to be self-sufficient. I'll put it that way. The elites of this world do not want blacks to be self-sufficient. You know what I'm saying? They didn't. You know what I'm saying? Places like Black Wall Street, they had to destroy Black Wall Street because if Black Wall Street would have kept on going, I guarantee you, Black Wall Street would have took over America. I say it again: if the elites, if the government did not touch Black Wall Street, if the government did not destroy Black Wall Street, I guarantee you, Black Wall Street would have took over America. As we speak, they would have took over America. But they didn't want that. They had to shut that shit down. And when it comes to blacks not realizing their true potential, they didn't want that. So they sent people like Dr. King to pacify black folks. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. And when it came to Malcolm X, I heard some stories about him too. But there's one thing I have to give him. At least he was willing to fight for black folks. At least he was willing to make a difference for black folks in America and also all across the world. See, he wanted change. He wanted radical change for his peoples. And I admire him for that. And I admire him for that. I respect that about him. You know what I'm saying? I respect that about him. I admired him about that. I admired about him. I really do. But yeah, man, it's but that's all I gotta say about that, man. That's all I gotta say. Just be careful on the people that you listen to out here in the media waves and all that stuff, man. Just be careful. Because a lot of these people are being pushed and promoted by very powerful machines, aka conglomerates out here. Just read between the lines. And don't fall under the charismatic spell, because charisma is full of shit. Do not fall under their spell of charisma. Read through the bullshit. See through it. That's all you need to do. So that's all I got to say about that, man. That's all I got to say. So yeah, man. So thank you so much and have a good day.